hear from Senator Grove. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have witnesses that are coming to the dais as well. I'll try to be very brief, and thank you for taking us out of order. We have individuals with flights that leave very shortly, so thank you. And I'd like to thank Senator Ashby for allowing me to present as well. Today I'm here to present Senate Bill 373, which will add additional safeguards for placement of California's children in non-public schools. I'll be accepting the committee amendments and want to extend my sincere appreciation to the chair and your incredible staff for their thoughtful work. And I do want to say a special thank you to Tanya for all her collaborative efforts with my office throughout this process. You really have been incredible, and it's been a great partnership in shaping this bill, so thank you very much for that. Over the past several years, California has taken important action to protect dependent youth in residential placements. In 2021, the legislature passed AB 153 to end the practice of sending foster youth out of state to residential facilities after widespread reports of abuse and neglect. Governor Newsom followed that up the following year with an $8 million investment to bring those children home and ensure transfer into a safer in-state facility. Last year, I authored SB 1043 with sponsor Paris Hilton, which aimed to increase transparency around restraints and seclusion use in short-term residential therapeutic programs, which is the placement used for many dependent youth who returned home from California from these out-of-state placements. However, as we began to work on this, along with Tanya, we uncovered other serious gaps in the system. With most foster youth that were brought back to California, some students with disabilities, those with individualized education programs or IEPs, were still being sent out of state to non-public schools through the California Department of Education. Under federal law, the student's IEP team determines whether the needs cannot be met in the public school setting, and the district may place them in non-certified public schools out of state or in state, but mostly out of state. The unfortunate reality is that many of these facilities have histories of abuse and neglect, negligence at best, yet remain certified by the California Department of Education. Additionally, although the on-site visit is required by the LEA, that places this child in the out-of-state facility, there's no requirement for anyone from California Department of Education or the LEA to have a face-to-face meeting with this student to ensure their safety while they're residing in this out-of-state facility for any length of time. Here are just a few examples that we've found and uncovered currently certified CDEs or NPSs with serious safety concerns. In Canyon State Academy in 2022, a student died from an overdose, and law enforcement responded to more than 230 emergency calls at that facility in a single year. Discovery Ranch, where just last year a 17-year-old committed suicide. The state found evidence of negligence, and the parents have filed a lawsuit. And in Provo Canyon School, widespread abuse has been detailed by Paris Hilton on HBO's miniseries Teen Torture, Inc. These are not isolated incidents, and one of the reasons that we have brought this measure before you today. As the committee analysis points out, CDE was required to contract for a study that examines non-public schools. This report, conducted by West Ed, was recently released and highlights the need for this bill that we have here before you today. According to West Ed's study on non-public schools, there was significant confusion about state and local entity roles and responsibilities with respect to monitoring and oversight of the process if a student was placed in these non-public schools out of state. SB 373 addresses West Ed's report's concerns about unclear roles in monitoring out-of-state non-public schools by mandating standardized LEA oversight, enhanced CDE certification criteria, and transparent parent communication to ensure the safety and accountability. Under this bill, LEAs are required to go beyond basic site visits and ensure meaningful engagement with the students they place, while following a consistent protocol designed to identify potential mistreatment. Specifically, SB 373 requires LEAs to continue conducting annual site visits to every out-of-state NPS serving California students, conduct in-person interviews with students during those visits aligned with the student's IEP to assess well-being and identify any concerns, and make quarterly phone calls between the student and the LEA, providing direct channel to the students to report concerns of risk or help. The LEAs will need to complete a CDE standardized on-site site visit, which will now include or expanded to include screening of signs of abuse, neglect, and mistreatment, a review of behavioral emergency reports, an assessment of staff professionalism, positive behavioral supports, and pupil identity or pupil dignity, and an interview directly with the student to ensure their health and safety. I just think that this should be something automatically that we have already been doing for all these years, but we have not been doing that. And so I just appreciate the chair and specifically Tom and his recommendations to make sure that we can protect these students when they are difficult decisions are made that families place these students or this Department of Education places these students outside the state. We can't forget about them. They're just kids, and we just can't forget about them. So another thing that this bill does is it bans prone supine and mechanical restraints, like you can't hold them down in a hog-tied position and mechanical restraints, maintains clear policies for students' rights for the complaint process, and require annual staff training and evidence-based trauma-informed behavioral interventions. It requires internal policies on restraint, seclusion, and abuse. We had horror stories about restraints, seclusion, and abuse, and restraints, tied up for 24 and 48 hours, urinating, defecating on themselves. One kid died in the prone position. So I just think that it's so imperative that we do everything we can to make sure that these students are protected. So I thank you for being here. I know that we ensure that families are informed and participants are in placement in this process. Beginning in 2026 and 2027, LEAs have to access non-public school certification status. They also are required to do other items, and I know I'm taking up Senator Ashby's time, so I'm going to introduce my witnesses. With the most recent amendments, it reflects an in-depth conversation and collaboration that we've taken steps to ensure this bill is not only meaningful, but it protects those in the workplace as well. With me here to testify is Avital van Leeuwen, and she's a survivor and a fierce advocate who was previously placed in an out-of-state facility through the IEP approved by Los Angeles Unified School District. She's here today to share her harrowing experience and an advocate for stronger protections for all students and has become a warrior for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Moatsuchi, Vice Chair Hoover, and members of the committee. My name is Avital van Leeuwen. When I was 16, LA Unified School District used an IEP to send me to an out-of-state, non-public school called Alpine Academy in Utah. Alpine claimed they were helping me, but instead I was traumatized by treatment I did not want or need. Today, I would like to share my story with you. Growing up was really hard for me. My mother had Munchausen by proxy and manipulated doctors and teachers to have me put on an IEP. Without strong guardrails, the school district sent me away and paid for my placement without question. To get to the program, 2 strangers removed me from my bedroom in the middle of the night and took me away. They called it therapeutic transport, but it felt like kidnapping. I cried and begged for help at the airport. No one listened. At Alpine, I was completely cut off from the outside world, force-fed medication, psychologically abused, and threatened with cruel punishments for normal, healthy behaviors. I was not allowed to speak freely, and when I tried to call my dad, the staff ripped the phone from my hands and threatened me with physical restraints. Alpine scared me into silence. My experience there still haunts me to this day, leading to recurring nightmares and being diagnosed with PTSD. Alpine caused me to regress, not succeed. For many years, the trauma stunted my development, delayed my independence, caused learned helplessness, and taught me to accept the abuse and coercive control in my family. I am here today reliving this story because I am so sad that this is still happening to California youth today. California committed to ending out-of-state placements for foster youth due to abuse, but those protections didn't translate to youth outside of foster care because hundreds of students with IEPs are still being sent away. This bill ensures that any student sent out of state is not out of sight, out of mind. Had this bill been law when I was 16, I might have felt safer. I might have been rescued. I might not still be healing from something that never should have happened in the first place. Please pass SB 373. No student should be invisible in a system that's meant to support their mental health and educational needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you.
second witness, sir, Mr. Chair, is unfortunately Ms. Hilton could not be with us today. However, Caroline Cole, a survivor of a lockdown behavioral modification program during her teens and now a strategic advocacy lead for 1111 Media Impact, which is Paris Hilton's organization that she works with on rescuing these children across the country and the world. She's also a co-host of a podcast, Trapped in Treatment, and the co-author of Stopped Institutional Child Abuse Act. She's worked across the nation to protect children. I'd like her to testify.
Thank you so much, Chair Meritsuchi and members of the committee. As Senator Grove mentioned, my name is Caroline Cole. I work with Paris Hilton's organization. And for the last 5 years, since Paris came out with her story publicly, we've had the incredible privilege of working on this issue across the nation. What has been interesting about that is we have been able to see really the landscape of what we're working with in its full entirety. And I will say, California, and as a California native myself, unfortunately has earned this reputation as being one of the biggest exporter of children to other states. And we are so grateful for all of the work that's been done to help remedy that over the past few years. But I think that we've left something on the table here, and that is some of our most vulnerable kids who are in the special education system. So this issue is deeply personal to me. I was sent from California to an institution in New York. You could not get farther away from my hometown. And so I know really what a life-altering experience this can be. But today I'm not here to speak just to my experience, but the evidence that we see. And that is, just last week, the California Department of Education released a first-of-its-kind report on non-public schools and agencies. And the findings were really sobering. They found that there's over 300 California students with IEPs that remain in out-of-state placements, many in states with fewer protections than our own. And I also really want to emphasize that we hear from parents that they don't understand. When they hear that their child's being placed in an out of state, they think that they're going to receive better care, they're going to receive more resources, that they're going to have a chance at their education. And the facts is that that is anything but true. The study also revealed that there's significant concerns around lack of monitoring, insufficient data collection, and really no centralized oversight framework. Many of these students are sent to high-risk facilities where practices like seclusion, restraint, and isolation still occur. And so SB 373 really takes direct aim at these gaps. It lets parents and students know what their rights are. It makes sure that these out-of-state students are being visited, that they're being monitored, and that there is a minimum standard of care. Thank you so much for your time and consideration on this bill. We appreciate it, and I know Paris wishes that she could be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony. Public comments in support of this measure, please come forward.
Espan Nunez on behalf of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition in support. Thank you.
Tara Thornton, co-founder of Freedom Angels, in support.
Denise Aguilar, co-founder of Freedom Angels, in support.
Michael Mendoza with Latino Justice, in support.
Lucy Salcido Carter with the Alameda County Office of Education, in support.
Christopher Arroyo on behalf of the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, in support.
David Bullock, representing Serving Family Values. We are in support. Thank you.
Erica Hoffman on behalf of the California School Boards Association, in support.
Zoe Schreiber, a survivor of an IEP, partial IEP funded program, in strong support.
Elle Grant on behalf of the California Alliance of Child and Family Services. We have a neutral position, but really want to thank the Senator for incorporation of many of our amendment proposals. Thank you.
Lauren Azevedo Smith, credentialed teacher, in support.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comments in support, any witnesses in opposition to the bill? Seeing none. Any public comments in opposition to the bill? Seeing none. Bring it back to the committee. Dr. Patel.
Thank you for bringing this bill forward. as a former trustee in a school district representing many, many parents, and within those parents, many parents of students with disabilities, this is a huge need. We sometimes feel compelled to send our children in out-of-school placements because of the intensity and risk. And so we send them to NPS, and we hope that they're getting treated well there. But the reality is there are some very bad actors out there. And although this will create a mandate and an unfunded mandate, my inclination is to protect our children. So thank you for bringing this bill forward.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Senator Grove, for I joined my colleague and thank you for bringing this forward. And I want to thank your witness for sharing your personal experience. I was just curious, what years did your experience take place?
That was in 2011.
Okay.
From 2011 to 2012, I was there for 10 months, which at the time was a record short placement. There were some students who were there for years and years.
Yeah, but it's not that distant of a past. And so, like Dr. Patel, I also served on a school board before I came here to the legislature, and I remember for the students that we did not have the capacity to be able to accommodate to meet their special education needs, there were a number of students that we would send, especially I remember Provo, Utah. There were so many kids sent to Provo, Utah. And and I always assumed that the family members would ensure that the well-being of the child, but we know that unfortunately is not always the case. So your testimony was a very powerful reminder of that. And Senator Grove, your bill is important to make sure that we continue to monitor the well-being of our students, whether they're in California or outside. So, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Assemblymember Patel. Zoe, who came up at the last, was one of our lead witnesses last time. And I want to thank our witnesses because they have to come and share their testimony. But we need to not forget, out of sight, out of mind, for those 300-plus kids that are still outside of our state's care, custody, and control in the hands of somebody else. And the majority of the numbers that come back say they're not being treated well. So thank you, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. We do not have a quorum, and so we will wait for the vote on your measure, and we'll take it up when we do. Thank you.